looking at my computer and down with the phone and stuff.
You do you, man.
I'm gonna let people watch and ask questions if they want to. So
Oh, you got dang. We're at like this is like I'm on like the
you're
trying to
big
think.
time right now, yeah.
Nah,
And we're actually
you're big
live.
tip.
We're actually live right now. You ready to go?
I'm I'm good.
Let's do it. All right, welcome back, Better Everyday podcast listeners. I'm your host, Brad Weems. Today's guest is a four-time CrossFit Games athlete, owner of CrossFit 061, creator of the online workout program called Zeus Programming. He is the father to daughters Jada and Atlee, and husband to his wife Chelsea. Today's guest is Nick Uranker. What's up, Nick?
Just living the dream, loving life.
I was telling Nick a minute ago, I really appreciate him coming on here. No shirt today. It's going to help viewership.
It wasn't on I mean, it was on purpose, but I just got back from being outside. It's warm. You don't want to put on a sweaty shirt. That's
No, I
actually
get it. I get it, man.
that's why I don't wear shirts.
There we go. Yeah, you hopped into class down here when you were in town visiting, and
Yep.
all the ladies on the other side of the gym were just like, "Who is that?"
No, they weren't.
I was like, I'm the owner here. Like, I've been here for a while now. I guess they were maybe talking about you, but
I doubt it. I doubt it.
um, all right. So, for listeners that don't know you, tell them a little bit more about yourself.
Oh wow, a little bit about myself. Well, I'm husband and father first. I guess the one thing that um, I'm kind of addicted to growth. So I think having a growth mindset. I think always pushing yourself, and that started with athletics, and then it just transferred more. I think into the mindset through athletics, and then realizing that like this is a really powerful thing. So I'm somebody who's constantly trying to find ways to help other people to a fault. I can talk too much sometimes about things that I believe are really important. And, as an athlete, I've competed in the CrossFit Games. I've uh, done a lot as far as inside of my community, created, programs outside of where I live because I started actually on two gyms, started there, realized there was kind of a bigger audience I could reach. And I love kind of chatting, catching up. So I don't know if that's a really good way of saying it, but the reality is like I'm kind of somebody who lives in the moment. So I get very caught up in what I'm doing, and I expect very little. Um, so what I mean by that is, if you contact me and if I've had a conversation with you, and hopefully this holds true, you've loved the interaction. You felt like, holy cow, like this guy literally can just pour his heart out to you. He'll talk about anything and everything. And I just love those one-on-one interactions that I get to have. So if you've ever seen me or know me, like hopefully you know that. And I'm just addicted to improving. And it just happens to be in the sport of CrossFit that I've kind of settled.
And what other ways do you want to improve on a daily basis?
I I live, geez, I probably read about 200, 300 books a year. And when I say read, I don't mean like read, I mean listen, like in my ears. So I have a lot of mentors, and I tell everybody I'll hold my phone up, and I'm like, my mentors they live inside of here. I've found every app you can possibly think of that's either free or cheap that gives you free information. Because I'm somebody who I love getting on podcasts. I love talking with individuals because I tell people a lot. The most free information that there is available is inside of other people. You just have to ask them.
Hmm.
So I'm constantly trying to learn and get other information. And again, it's through being online. It's through interests. It's for me. It's I love taking something that people value but don't talk about and understanding it more to bring it out so that it becomes comfortable. Example, like finances, exercise, eating, like things that like everyone acts like is taboo, hard, or scary, or intimidated. I love to make comfortable and inviting.
It's that fear of judgment, I think.
100%.
Yeah. No one's perfect, so why not benefit from each other
No.
and
Yep.
realize that we all have our faults or can improve.
Yes.
So let's talk about your fitness and athletic history growing up.
Yep. So, man, I started athletics probably like a lot of people, like five maybe. I played t-ball. Grew up in Florida. I think I was just kind of natural at athletics. And I guess natural is not the right word, because it's like saying a CrossFitter walking into the gym who's good is just lucky. And it's like, well, they have a background. So I think as a kid, I had a brother the same age as me. We played all the time. We're always outside doing stuff, kicking upside down onto our hands, doing flips. Nobody really teaching, just like seeing something and copying it. And as I got older, I realized I was fast, which is good for sports. Moved around a bunch, got to meet a lot of different people, started to excel in like track and football, kind of stuck with those sports. Did well in high school, went on and made like all state for like 3 years, went to the North South All-Star game for our state, went to college, played football. And then when it ended, it was like, oh wait, this, like, it's just like cut off. You're just done. Senior year of college is over, and it's like, now what? So I thought fitness was you go to the gym and you do your bodybuilding workouts, and you can do, a 5K or a 10K or a marathon or a half marathon. And then there's like these things called triathlons, which I don't like swimming, so I didn't want to do that. So I thought, I'm going to read this book called Ultra Marathon Man. And if you don't know what it is, basically it's an ultra marathon runner. So longer than a marathon, essentially. And I found out about this race called the Western States 100, where you go 100 miles. And if you make it under 24 hours, you get a belt buckle. That's all you get is a belt buckle. So that tells you anything. All I cared about was experiencing and conquering through like what my body can do. I didn't care about money. And I wanted to do that until I signed up for a half marathon and ran it, and I finished. And I thought, why would I ever want to go any farther than that? And I was horrible at it, but I started doing them all the time until a buddy called me and was like, dude, you're not a runner. Stop. Like, check out this thing called CrossFit. And I was like,
when was this, Nick?
2009.
Okay.
This would have been probably in spring of 2009. He contacts me, tells me, check this out. I was like, sure. Like, I'm not doing aerobics. I looked at it. I'm like, this is weird. Why would I go into a class and work out with people? I've done that. My mom did aerobics. Like, come on. And he contacts me months later and was like, dude, did you check it out? And I was like, no, I didn't. And he said, I'm coming over to your house and I'm bringing over a video. And he said, I'm bringing over Every Second Counts, 2008 CrossFit Games. And I was like, all right, whatever. He puts it in, and my mind was blown. I was like, what is this? And how can I do it? Where does this exist? This is insane. People are like doing this, and you get to like compete, like, and win. And I went down to my basement and did Fran because I Googled, I should start CrossFit. And if you're pre 2011, maybe 2012, you Googled and everyone says you do Fran. So anything you looked at pre 2012 was to do CrossFit, you start with Fran. So I was like, I looked at it and I thought, 95 pounds, come on. Like, that's nothing. Pull-ups, I have a pull-up bar, those P90X pull-up bars.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I got a pull-up bar, let's do this. 6 minutes and 47 seconds it took me. How good were my standards? I don't know. But I know that I crawled up the stairs just in so much pain, and my wife was pregnant. And I looked at her and I said, this is legit. I'm all in. And then I've never looked back.
Wow. That's a great first experience. So
Yeah.
what did you get on the affiliate map and find a local CrossFit gym then?
I actually just Googled like CrossFit gyms. I don't know if the affiliate map really existed then. I think, it may have, but I just Googled CrossFit. There were 2 gyms. I called them both. Neither of them answered. Called again. One of them finally did, but it was a jiu-jitsu and CrossFit gym. So the jiu-jitsu side called and they're like, oh, you need to speak to the owner of the CrossFit side. So I talked to him. I went in because I actually, when I did this was 2010 in March. So in 2010, if anybody's familiar, that was when they had sectionals. Sectionals was essentially the open. And there was a sectional at the Arnold Classic. And what it was anybody could sign up and you got to go compete. And there was 183 people that signed up in Columbus, Ohio, and I signed up. So I contacted an affiliate because I was like, I need to know what the things I might do are. And they posted some workouts, and one of them, two of the movements were rowing and toes to bar. So I thought, okay, a toe to bar, you hit your toe to the bar. Rowing, come on. So I went in. I was like, I need to know what a toes to bar is. Is this a toe to bar? And I kicked up, touched my toes to the bar, and they were like, yep. And I was like, sweet, done, next. Said, rower, I've never rowed before. I get on the rower, I start rowing. I'm like, not that bad. All right, I'm good. Thank you. And I left. Go to sectionals. Watch these guys do toes to bar. And I was like, they're cheating. All of them. They're all cheating. Like this is
they're kipping, right?
They're kipping. And I'm like,
Yeah.
this isn't come on. Hello. And why do I say they're cheating? Because I can't do it.
Right.
I have no idea what's going on. I can't fake it. Like it's not like, I'm getting ready to go. And then I'm standing behind the people on the rower because the toe to bar was in the same workout, I believe, as the rower. And then there was like overhead squats, and I'm watching these people row. And remember, I rowed one time. And I never saw under 2 minute 500. I just pulled it, right? It was like 2 something. I'm like, I don't know what that even means. And I'm watching, and guys are pulling like 130 to 140. And I'm standing next to somebody else, and I said, is that normal? And they were like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, this is going to be interesting. And I got just laid to the floor, like just destroyed.
Nick, is this your typical personality? You just throw yourself into situations and not think about the judgment at hand?
So I would say that's a good question, because I would say that the answer is no, I don't. But there are times where when I don't know, like I didn't know. So I'm somebody that wants to try new things. I don't want to be exposed. I don't want to look bad. Like I don't like, but I go so fast. My nickname in high school, if anybody in here watches or I went to school with or sees this, was the best. And the reason it was the best was because I didn't really talk. Like I wasn't vocal on the football field. I didn't talk about anything. But if you did something, I would immediately go and just try to do it. Not for any other reason than I wanted to make sure that I could. So what would happen is I would do things and I would do them until like I got good. And then people would be like, of course, you just got to be the best at it. But I wouldn't say anything. It was just more like I wanted to prove to myself. So when it came to competition, it was like, I'm going to sign up. Like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Now, when I look back, I'm like, man, if I knew what I know now, I would never have done some of those things. I mean, there's so many things that I think when we don't know, we try to learn, whereas immersion or jumping in and just going will teach us so much more. And yes, it might embarrass you. I mean, the most embarrassing moment I've ever had in my life was when I was 15. It's what got me into exercise. I got embarrassed because I'd never bench pressed before, and we had to bench in front of our entire varsity team, and it fell on top of me with 135 pounds. And they made a huge scene, pulled it off of me, and I felt like worthless. And I walked away saying, I'm never going to let that happen to me again. And same thing. I literally walked away from sectionals, and I was with my wife's dad, and he was sitting in the car, and we sat down in the car when it was over. And I looked at him and I said, I'm going to beat them all next year. I didn't say that to anybody there. And people might be like, what the heck? And it was like, no, it was that I understood I wanted it. And if I wanted it, well, I've got to beat them. And I've got a year. And I remember he just like kind of like shook his head like, well, that was really cool though. Those guys are really good. Like that. And he kept talking about all these other guys. And I'm like, I want you to say that I did good. Like I want you to like I want to put in the work so that one day you can say like, hey, I'm proud of you. Like I didn't, like there's a lot of times like I don't think we get that in our lives. Like I'm kind of getting off a little bit, but one of the things that really pushed me was kind of like everybody. There's somebody out there who tells you that you can't, shouldn't, they wouldn't, you shouldn't, why, it doesn't make sense. You tell me all these different reasons, and we listen to those people. That I think for most of my life, people have always told me what I couldn't do, and those are the things that I do. And I realized at a young age that most of those people will come back and they will engulf themselves into what you've created and never actually really acknowledge that they were wrong.
Yeah.
And the one time that it ever happened was last year. And it actually took my fire away from wanting to compete. because for my entire life, my dad told me that I couldn't do so much stuff. And he finally apologized to me last year and told me he was wrong and that he can't believe what I've accomplished. And he's sorry that he ever told me that I couldn't.
That's awesome. So one of the questions I had for you a little bit later was, what's the biggest failure that led you getting better? Would it be that sectionals event?
No, because I didn't have expectations. I think if
Okay.
we live outside of expectations, we don't, I didn't really know. I wanted to be good, but what was good? I didn't know what it
Okay.
was. So I needed to see it.
So let's revisit that a little bit later in the podcast then.
Got it.
But my next question for you was, when did you realize you were good at CrossFit? So it's really interesting that you had this huge moment of failure. So when did you realize, once you started putting in the work and actually working out in an affiliate, that, okay, I'm gaining traction now?
So I didn't really work out in affiliate for a while. There's a few moments that I can recall. There was one that I did a workout called Filthy 50.
Yep.
And I did it against the guy that was the best in the gym at the time. And I always wanted to see where I stood with other people, because the best way to see if I'm growing was to constantly be around them. And we did a workout, and I realized in that workout that I couldn't do double unders tired. And he ended up beating me by about 6 to 10 seconds. And I remember he was like, "Oh, I just got you." But in my head, all I was thinking was, I can't do double unders tired. Like, that's the only reason that I lost. So I went quietly, worked my butt off on doing them fatigued. And then I asked him again if he would do that workout with me. And I beat him by over 3 minutes. And it was only because I could do double unders tired. So I realized right there, like, okay, if I put in the work in these areas how I need them, I can improve. Okay, so that was number one. Number two was I started working at AT&T, and I would travel every week, every other week or every third week to Chicago. And I found a gym out there, and there's a guy named Jason who owned a gym. And this was like a 13-week period. And every 3 weeks, I would travel out. So I went there and I worked out with him, and he was amazing. Like, he was amazing. I remember I told him I met him, I'm like, "You're the best CrossFitter I've ever met." But every third week I'd go there, and for the entire week he would work out with me, because he's like, it's so cool to have somebody that's so passionate. And every third week I'd work out. And by the last week, I was beating him in all the workouts. And before I left, I said to him again, I was like, "Seriously, you're the best CrossFitter I've ever met." And he was like, "I think you're confused." He's like, "You're going to the games." And I was like, "What? No, like, you're so good." And he was like, "You've got a fire. Like, you're going. Like, there's more in you than you know." And I remember being like, "What?" And then about 3 months later, I went to a competition and I won. And I remember I got there and, like, all these guys were bigger than me. They looked fit. I'm like, I'm going to get beat. And I won. And when I finished, the owner was like, "You're going to the games." And I was like, "What? How do these people know?" Like, I just wanted to get better. And the ultimate goal was the games. But I started having people tell me that, like, "Hey, I think this could happen for you." So I think it was that stuff where people who didn't know me were just saying stuff. And I saw the improvement by training with people constantly and trying to push past them. And then obviously meeting Jason, who was so good, and then essentially passing him over that time period, over that, 3 or 4 month period.
Okay, so what was the timetable that you won that competition? You have these individuals telling you that you're going to make the games.
So September 2010 was when somebody told me I would make the games. It was about March 2010 was sectionals. I changed my nutrition when I got back and basically started educating myself and learning as much as I could and finding out what I would need. I lost about 12 pounds. And people are always like, "How'd you lose 12 pounds?" I'm like, because it was 12 pounds that didn't need to be on my body. Sometimes we don't get to choose what's best for us, but I stayed committed. And in the next 3 months, I gained 15 pounds.
Oh, wow.
So I was heavy, but I looked like a completely different person. And that's when my body changed. So my body has looked very similar since then. So then September, I'm at the tail end of that. I win that competition. I start putting on even more weight because now I'm like really dialing and getting stronger. And I did my first real test in January of 2010 or 2011. And it was against a guy that got 7th at sectionals the year before. And he just missed going to the games at regionals. I think he got 7th at regionals. He was like third or fourth at our sectional. So he almost made the games, and he was competing at this competition. So I signed up, and I was like, all right, if you think you got a shot, you got to be able to hang and like hopefully beat this guy. And I won. So I got first and he got second. And that was the moment where I was like, okay, this guy's really good. That means that when I compete against other guys, I might be able to hang. And then the open was March. And obviously I kind of improved. Some stuff happened in there, and I made regionals, and I was 48th out of 60. But I broke my collarbone in March, right before the open. And I was devastated. But that test in January, where I competed against a guy that was top at regionals the year before and beat him, was really where I was like, okay. So it was over that March was sectionals, and all the way till January was when I'd like dialed everything in. And my improvement there was the highest I'll ever have in my entire life, because, I learned how to do toes to bar in my sleep.
Mm-hmm.
So
that year you actually make it to the games.
Yep. I made the games in 2011.
Yep. And so that's at the ranch, right?
Mm-mm.
No.
That was the first. That was Madison. The first year in Madison was 2010.
Or Carson.
Carson. The first year in Carson was 2010. And then,
Okay.
so I was the second year.
Okay. Got you. So how did you finish that year?
35th. There was 70. I think that year we had like 70 or 75 guys, and it sucks. They cut at 30. I either got 35th or 36th. Wherever they made a cut at like 35, and I was 35th. I got like a DNF on a workout, a max snatch, believe it or not. I didn't even I got dead last on a max snatch because you had 2 minutes and I didn't get one.
Okay.
Crazy, horrible story. But I got 35th. I was warming up, and they pulled me over and they were like, hey, we messed up the score. You got 36th and this guy got 35th. And now all of a sudden I was out of the competition.
Oh, that's a bummer.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's the way it goes. But yeah, I got cut.
So when did you open your gym?
That next year, 2012. 2012, like March.
Is training for the games not enough in itself that you go and open your own business?
I mean, I was working a full-time job, 10 to 12 hours. I was working at least 10 hours a day at AT&T. So yeah, I was working full-time, and my wife was staying at home. So my wife was staying at home. I was working full-time and training for the game. So I'd wake up at 4 a.m. I would train. I'd go to work. I shaved my head so that I could go on lunch breaks, and I would work out. And I was a manager, so I could take a little bit of longer than an hour. I'd go work out at lunch. I would air dry, and then I would go back in, work, and then I would go home and I would work out. So I was literally from 4 a.m. until 10 p.m. working or working out or thinking about working out. I mean, I had a blog. I was writing workouts all the time. I was doing so much. And when my wife decided to go back to work, she found a job making the exact same amount of money I was making. And I said, all right, you got to stay home. We can live on this income. We already know it. Now's my time to open a gym, because back then the only way to make the games was to own a gym.
Why was that?
That was just what we all thought, because all the good guys own gyms. So you're like, oh, well, this person owns a gym and he's at the games, and this person owns a gym and he's at the games, because there wasn't any money. Like 2010, the winner got $25,000. And I remember when they announced it, I was like, oh my gosh, like you can't make a living on that. And most likely you're not going to win. So it's not about the money. So you need to create revenue. You need to create money. And it allowed me to pursue this hobby, because that's really all that it was.
Right. So you open the gym, and then you don't make the CrossFit Games the next 2 years.
Next 3 years. The next 3 years.
So was opening the gym a distraction to your training to where you couldn't make it back, or were the athletes getting so much better that they had caught up to you?
I think no. So first off, that was when you started to realize how hard the Central East Regional was.
Right.
We in 2011 you didn't really know. 2012 was like, okay, You've got Rich and, Scott came in 2012. You've got, I mean, I could name every person in the world. Like, our regional was stacked. And in 2011, after 2011, I thought, this is it. I'm doing it every year. This is what happens, right? Like, I got this. And I got sixth. So we took 5 people because Rich Froning and Graham Holmberg had automatic bids because they won the games. And then they took the next 3 people. So the next 3 people was Dan Bailey. And then there was, I think in 2012, I can't remember who another person was. Marcus Hendren. Maybe it wasn't that year. Scott Panchik. I think that they had made it. So Scott got 5th and beat me on the last workout, which basically sent him to the games. And I was like, what the heck? And then I realized, like, man, this affiliate takes a lot out of you. Like, I was doing every single class all the time. 2013 was basically the same. And I don't think I ever looked, same thing. Like, I don't think I ever thought owning a gym was the reason why I didn't make the games. I just thought I wasn't doing what was right. And I wouldn't say that people caught up with me. I think that I was moving at the same rate. I think I was growing with the sport. I just think that my mistakes were bigger than other people's. And that in our regional, you make one mistake, 2 mistakes. You make 1 mistake, you can maybe overcome it. You make 2 and you're done.
Mm-hmm.
So there were times where, I made a lot of mistakes. And it cost me. It cost your entire year. But I don't think that I put a lot of value. I don't think I used making the games as my purpose. I truly enjoy training. I truly enjoy the journey. The games was an outlet.
Mm-hmm.
So not making it for 3 years was hard. I mean, more so hard because my wife was like, you can't keep doing this. And in 2014, she gave me 4 hours to train. And she's like, and you have 4 hours. And if you don't use them, you lose them. So I had to start maximizing my time.
Do you have kids at this point?
Yeah, I had a kid. My first kid was born when I found CrossFit. So she was born January 12th, 2010. So I found it I started doing it at the end of 2009. And I remember when she was born, I left to go home to go get some stuff. And I did a workout in the basement real quick, grabbed the stuff, and went back to the hospital.
Wow.
So sectional, she was like 3 or 4 months old. That 2010 year.
So it's 2014, 2015. Are you regretting this decision to open a gym?
No. Nope.
Okay.
Yep. Nope. I don't think, because I still don't think I think it allowed me to train.
Okay.
Though I didn't realize how much energy that would take out of you. I don't regret. I don't have like regrets. I think every single thing takes you where you are. And if you didn't, like if I didn't open a gym, I probably wouldn't have made the games. I mean, it took a lot of commitment. I learned a lot. I know more about myself than what other people are going to know. I know more about other people. I feel like I lived so many lives by owning a gym and working with so many people and going through the things I've gone through and experimenting with businesses. And I mean, it's got me where I am right now.
Yeah, the networking is priceless.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you make it back to Carson in 2015. That's when CrossFit's at its peak.
Mm-hmm.
How much of a difference in experience was that year than 2012?
Man, it was a different. It was definitely, it was crazy because, yeah, you're that year was like it was like superstar.
Mm-hmm.
There was, that I think was semi the demise of CrossFit in the community, because we had a drop off. Like, we had literally a drop off, and there was like a 20-foot area, and then you went into a tent and you were never seen again. So people would line up for that 20 feet just to see you. You were pulled so far away from everybody. And the reason why people would go to the CrossFit Games was to see their favorite athletes. But not just see their favorite athletes out on the competition floor, but to see their athletes walk by. To see them, do. And that was the first year really where they said, okay, you guys need your own space. You need rest. You need all these things. And it's true. But the community in CrossFit is really like you're a part of it, right? We're all doing the same things. Like you can simulate all that we do. You can't go out and play a football game like the Green Bay Packers or like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You can't go out, you can fake put on, but you're not. But out there, you can be like, man, he just did this. I'm going to go and do the same thing. Like you just feel connected. And I think it
Mm-hmm.
lost that a little bit. It felt really cool. Like we were in a circle about 40 feet by 40 feet with 1,000 people around us, just screaming, wanting our autographs. And they literally put us in there and we're just standing there and people are yelling your name and you're walking over and you're signing something and you're taking pictures and you're just going around this like corralled circle. It was so crazy. I remember that was the first time we did it. It was like, this is weird. You would like go in the middle until somebody yelled your name, then you'd walk out and you'd do stuff.
You were saying you felt like that was the demise of CrossFit. Why do you feel that way?
Well, I feel like that was the demise of, and I don't, demise is probably, but the connectedness you felt with the athletes. I mean, in 2000, in all the games previous, you had to walk through where the spectators were to go to the venue.
Mm-hmm.
At regionals, we sat in the bleachers and you'd have people walk over and take pictures and do like you were connected. They separated that at regionals too. So like people would go to regionals because they'd get to meet their favorite athlete. And that stuff started to disappear.
So would you rather be bothered when you need rest and trying to recover, or did you like being segregated from the fans?
I think 100% like the having your time was amazing. I think that it wasn't designed initially that way. It was designed as a party. It was designed as a festival. It was designed as a hangout where athletes get to hang out with each other and all these. And then it's grown so much that obviously we're past that. But I think people in the beginning, and I would say that now people probably don't look at it and think the same way. But if you're talking 2013, 14, 15, 16, a lot of spectators were like, wait a minute, I never got to see this person, or I didn't get to see that person. So being in it as early as I was and knowing where it was and where it's gone it is more of in that like professional sport. Like now you utilize your social media
Mm-hmm.
as your way of connecting with your athletes. But then I talk to people all the time and they'll tell me like, you're the only one, like not many people respond back when I message them, like no one, and it's, and you give everybody excuses. Like the number one thing people say to me is they're like, I know you're really busy, and I'm like, don't tell me I'm busy. Like we all are busy. We all have stuff. If I don't respond, it's because I don't want to, I don't know how, or maybe I feel like there's an underlying motive,
Yeah.
So,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that it can be tough because that's our way of connecting with athletes. So I think if athletes understood more about like, man, like one day these people aren't going to message you. One day they're not going to want to take a picture with you. One day they're not going to see you. I mean, one day I'm not going to get contacted to go on a podcast, right? Like you would respect it more. And I think like that perspective.
Yeah. It's no different than you kind of lost your purpose or direction whenever you finish college sports.
Yep.
And, there's so many people that are missing out on engaging with people. And it's just always best to respect people's time. And, if they're wanting your time, give it to them if you have it available.
Yep. I think, yeah.
Um, you've been to the game so many times that we could sit here and talk about
Oh, jeez.
in depth, your journey with each year. But I kind of want to start shooting off some questions from you, and maybe give the listeners some value in some of this stuff. So, Nick, you can pick one: a 20th place finish in 2018, or first place finish at 35 to 39. Which one's more meaningful?
Oh, 20th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Why did you decide to leave competition in 2020?
Well, 2021.
Okay.
2020, I actually planned on competing individually and masters. So, but I didn't care about the open. So the open is the only thing that mattered once it all ended, and they cut off masters. I think the biggest reason was because I knew I had another year and I didn't know what that looked like. And I knew that I was getting close to, so I look at things in 5-year windows. And every 5 years I get to start a new life, business, like whatever, carry over, grow. And I knew that I was kind of in that window of well, maybe I should check out some other stuff. So I started diving into new things and found new passions and started getting really excited and had this fire over on this other side that I'm like, wow, I really want to like dive into that. So I did, and it stayed lit. And the fire of training has transitioned more over into like, okay, what if I do want to compete? How can I maintain this in a more realistic way of 60 minutes to 90 minutes a day, or not having to be scared of having 2 rest days in a row, like
Mm-hmm.
traveling? Like, how can I find this homeostasis of a life that is different than what I've had before, and start this new process? So that it allowed me to do it. And then as competition got closer, I was like, I don't think I'm going to compete this year. I don't want to do it an injustice and not give it my all and take a spot from somebody who really wants it. So I just decided, like, I want to pursue helping others a little bit more, be a little less selfish, because it's a very selfish sport.
Gotcha. Who are the top 5 people in the fitness industry that you are either communicating with or working out with or you're watching that push you?
Oh man.
Give me only 5 though.
I mean, Fraser, I would say Matt for sure. Alex Anderson, he's somebody who's been out for a couple of years, but he's somebody that I love to connect with and talk with. Man, that's tough, because I think I talk to so many people, and it's kind of sporadically, or it's online, that 5 people.
All right, give me
Man.
2 you give me 2 guys. Give me 2
Okay.
females.
2 females, I would say, right, like Annie Thor's daughter is somebody, and Laura Gracis, who's actually on like Zeus Method, but she's somebody who has gone through a lot, owns a gym, and is somebody that I kind of feel semi like I respect what she's doing, trying to grow herself, and kind of feel like a mentor in a way.
Cool. Who are some entrepreneurs that you're looking at for motivation?
Oh man, that's Grant Cardone is somebody that I'd look at. I mean, even like Gary V. He's just a great, like, there's people online. Man, there's so many people. So I look more at like books, I would say. So I mean, the 10X Rule, which is a Grant Cardone book, I've probably listened to like 6 times. David Bach is like he's a financial guy. He's got like the Automatic Millionaire, and he's got it's called the Latte Factor. That actually helped my wife a lot really get into like, oh, I like this finance stuff. There's a podcast, these guys, it's called The Money Guys. They're fantastic. I think they're out of Colorado, or out west. And yeah, like, people, for me, it's people who are doing things that just seem crazy,
Mm-hmm.
because you've got to have a little crazy to be able to ignore all the noise. And to
Exactly.
see people that are doing things, I mean, like Tony Robbins, phenomenal. Dean Graziosi, Jenna Kutcher, I mean, even like Amy Porterfield. Like, there's people that are just like doing things where you look and you're like, man. And what it does is it sparks like, there's no way I could do that. And when I hear that, I'm like, there's no way I can do what I'm doing. Like, people look and they're like, oh, you're lucky. I'm like, when I hear that, I'm like, wait a minute. They would say the same thing. I can do it. Like, I can do what they're doing. Like, it just takes time. It takes a lot
Yeah.
of time. So I look at all those people, and they've got such great people that give. I love people that give. And a lot of times when you give, what ends up happening is people start telling you what they need, and then you create what they need. And then it's like, oh my gosh, like, wow, I can impact so many more people. And a lot of times they'll be like, I just want to support you. And they'll grab something, they'll buy something, they'll do something, for you. And you're like, wow, people are amazing.
Yeah. 100%. All right, tell us the truth about games director Dave Castro. Is he really the person he gets portrayed to be?
I don't think you want me to talk about Dave.
Can we keep it like, family friendly or no?
Yeah, we can keep it family friendly. I mean, yeah, Dave is who he's portrayed as, in my opinion. Dave loves himself. And yeah, I mean, he said some stuff about me in the past that I told him he owes me an apology about, and he hasn't. He supports what he supports, and my wife said it best one time when he made a post about me, and she just said, like, way to support your athletes. Like, you're trying to be the face of something that and talking about people who are literally putting their life and blood into this thing that, like, so
You
I
shouldn't
just
have favorites.
no,
Yeah.
and it's not even like, yeah. So some of the stuff, it's just he just wants to be in the spotlight, and because of that, some of the things that he says don't really match up with what he can have these opinions and feel these ways, but I think that sometimes it rubs a lot of athletes the wrong way.
Got you. We can leave it right there with that one.
Yeah.
What's the hardest games workout you've ever done?
The hardest games workout I've ever done
Mm-hmm.
would be the 2 mile paddleboard, the swim, 2 mile paddleboard, and swim. The hardest experience was Murph. It wasn't the hardest
Is that
workout.
the same one that Annie
2015.
passed out?
Yes. What people don't understand is that swim, 2 mile paddleboard and swim was right before Murph.
True.
So our shoulders were shot. So doing Murph with the heat and with our shoulders being destroyed, and having done a bunch of like lower body stuff that day before too, I think what people don't understand was that compounding effect that Murph had on everybody. So like you saw the passing out, you saw that stuff. That was actually a compound effect of the day before accumulated and showing up in Murph. So I think Murph, the experience of it, I was 16 minutes into the workout, looked up at the clock, and there was a 55-minute time cap, and I thought, I physically can't stay here for another 40 minutes. Like,
Mm-hmm.
not even can I finish, but it was like physically my body can't take this heat under the stress I'm under for another 40 minutes. Like, I just couldn't. I literally was hiding in my own shadow thinking I was in shade. That's
Wow.
how and that's 100% truth. I saw a shadow and I thought I could curl up into a ball and hide in my own shadow. And I did it about 30 times in the push-ups of Murph.
Wow. All right, let's go back to this question that I had for you earlier, and I said we'd revisit. What's your biggest failure that led you getting better?
So, of getting better, I would say, when I was 15 years old, the thing that got me going was the bench press failure. That's really what got me going in this journey. I would say, as far as failures go, 2017. So obviously, like, I did everything I had to do, but I would say the 1 year, in 2016, I questioned whether I should even be doing this. Like, I just thought like I was done. And when I hurt my shoulder in 2017, and then I was told like I was taking steroids, I was faking it, I was all these different things. It really fired me up to basically be like, I'm going to prove you, like, I'm going back. I'm going back individually. I'm going back. I'm doing this. And it lit a fire under me. So my improvement from 2017 went way up. So it might sound like, well, that's in the middle of your career. It was like, yeah, but that was the year where it was like, okay, I know what I have to do and I'm going to do it.
That's awesome. All right, last question of the day. I ask this to all my guests. What are you currently doing right now or in the near future that contributes to you getting better every day?
Trying to learn from others, taking what people are doing and trying to implement it in the best way that I can. I mean, I'm constantly, I'll tell my wife all the time, like, I know so much. It's just figuring out the best ways to apply it, what works for me. And I think the application of information is something I'm still learning how to do, because, wisdom is what I'm kind of going for, and then figuring out how to apply and pass it on. So every day I'm just trying to learn from those who are doing things that I want to be able to do the way that I can do them best.
Gotcha. I love your Instagram lives. You had one 2 days ago. Real good. Just hopping on the phone and just spitting out those knowledge bombs. So keep that up, please.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah,
You don't
man.
really know who you're connecting with, or like if anybody's listening.
Right. I know you. It says 14 people are watching, and then no one comments. Kind of feel awkward, but
That's fun. Yeah.
Nick, I enjoyed hanging out with you a couple months ago, and I appreciate you hopping on the podcast today.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man. So I guess we'll hopefully be seeing you when you get back here to Tennessee. Hopefully you'll end up moving here, and you can stop by and work out with us again here in Johnson City. So
Heck yeah.
cool, brother. Well, appreciate you hopping on, and Better Everyday podcast listeners, we appreciate you listening, and we'll be talking to you soon.
Thank you.